So the first step is deseeding your chiles. So if you go back to my recipe on Blackboard, you'll be able to see which ones you need for the recipe and then the amount you need. I already just handpicked out what I need to make it easier. And then to find the chiles, usually if you go to like a Hispanic market or a store, you'll be able to find them. You could try Market Basket to see if you could find the chiles there. But I would highly recommend going to like either Market Basket or just like a Hispanic store that you have. They'll most likely have them for you to de-seed them. So usually the chiles have this stem on them. So what you do is just snap it off, and then you'll be able to just watch the seeds come out. And then on a separate dish like this, you'll be able to put them in here, and you just need to do that to all of them that you have. Some people like to keep the seeds in. I personally just take them out because it helps what is it called, blend it easier. And then as well, like the seeds can make it a little bit spicier, so it's good to just take them out because these peppers or chiles are already spicy as is when you put them in water and boil them. So that's the first step I do. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to need cloves. I'm just gonna be stating like what you need, just so I don't have to do it in every part. So I already de-seeded my chiles. You're also going to need chipotle peppers. This is an adobo sauce. I got this at Target. You could also get this at Market Basket or anywhere, basically, any grocery store. You're going to need these chiles. They come in a sauce already, and these are very spicy. So if you go back to my recipe, you'll be able to see how many you need. If you don't want this to be too spicy, I would definitely go 1 or 2 chiles less than what the quantity says. Then you're gonna need this Goya steak seasoning. You don't really need to use this, but it does give flavor to the meat. You could also use like broth as a substitute, or if you have like any steak powder. This is really good because the sauce is like a stew based, so this definitely gives it a lot more flavor to the steak. And so I'm gonna be using 2 big tomatoes, or 1 big one and then 1 small one, because it's very important to use tomatoes in this recipe for the sauce. So you could either use 2 or 3. I might add another one depending on how spicy it is. So yeah. And then I have garlic that I already peeled, so I'm using 4. You could add more if you would like. Garlic is very important in this dish. I'm using a cinnamon stick. This is also very important. It might be a little strange when making this dish, but when you are making the sauce, it's good to add a cinnamon stick for like 30 minutes or like 15 minutes. It just gives a lot of flavor to the stew, and since I'm using a slow cooker, it's very important. Some people leave it in, but I'm just gonna do it for 30 minutes, and then you can just pop it, just take it out. These are some bay leaves that I have. These are also very important. And then we're using oregano, because it's also very important. And then I'm also going to use like maybe 1/4 of an onion. So like this is half of a big onion, but I definitely will probably be using half of it, because you do not want it to be too oniony. And then you're also going to need salt and pepper for your steak. And those are like the seasonings that you need. Okay, so this is everything we're gonna need. All of your peppers and onions and tomatoes are in here. The one thing that is not in here are the chipotle chilies that I had said that come in the can. Just because when you purify or you blend the sauce, you're going to add them there. Sorry for the coffee. The seeds. So then basically you're gonna cook this for about 15 minutes, and then in about like 5 to 10 minutes, you're gonna take out all the peppers that you have added in here. Mine are like at the bottom, most of them. And I also added half a red pepper. It's good to take these out in about 5 to 7 minutes because the sauce can become bitter if you leave them in for too long. So you're supposed to take out the peppers in about 5 to 7 minutes because you do not want a sauce that is bitter. Okay, so this is the crock pot that I'm using. I also said in my recipe that you could either use a crock pot, which is what I was gonna use, or you could use a big dish. I'm using the crock pot because you can do this overnight. You don't have to do it in one big step. So I set the time to 3 hours and about 30 minutes. It's been going on for like 2 minutes. And you could do 4 hours as well. The longer you let it cook, the softer and more tender your meat is going to be. Usually people let it cook for 4 hours or 3 hours and 30 minutes. This is the steak or the meat once it's like brown. Obviously it's not fully cooked yet because you can still see pink. The purpose is just to give it more flavor when you add the sauce and everything, which I still have going boiling, so I'll show you that one. I blend everything and everything comes out. Okay, so I now added I think it was like 2 cups of water. It's obviously not covering the entire steak because I'm going to blend the sauce, and when I add it back in, I'll be then able to see if I need to add more water and stuff like that. Then I added the cinnamon stick, the bay leaves, oregano. I added the seasoning, and then I am going to take this chipotle pepper that I was talking about. I'm gonna take, I think, 1, maybe 2, maybe, yeah, 1 or 2, and I'm going to blend it with my sauce and everything, and then I'll add that back into here. And yeah. Okay, so these are the chilies. Once I let them boil for about like 5-7 minutes, I think I let them go. I took them out. I also added the peppers that I was talking about. Added 2, and then I'm gonna put some of the hot water that I use to boil the tomatoes and all of this stuff. I'm gonna blend it. I highly suggest being very careful when you add the water into this because it's gonna get very hot. So that's one big suggestion, is being very careful because this can get somewhat hot when you add it. You could add a little bit of the hot water and then fill it up with cold water if that's easier. So I would just be very careful when you do that step, so this doesn't like explode or anything. So yeah, just be very careful when you start to blend all of this stuff. And then once you blend it, you're just gonna add it right back into the crock pot, and then you'll start to get your sauce. Okay, so I blended everything like I already said, and I put all the meat in here. The cinnamon stick is still in here. I also added the cloves, and then I added a little bit more salt to give it some flavor. And then tomorrow I'm gonna come back, and then tomorrow I'll come back, and then this should be good to go. The meat should be tender, everything should be fine. I'll probably come back in like 2 hours. I think it's like 2 in the morning, so at like 4 a.m. I'll come back to make sure this has not exploded. And yeah, so I think it should be fine. I'm gonna put the lid on, and we'll be back tomorrow so I can show you how to do the rest of the things. And don't worry about the sauce being like lumpy and not perfect, because we're gonna strain the sauce, so it'll be very very good by the end of this, trust me. Okay, so this is my broth and steak after it being cooked for 4 hours. I did this overnight. So now I'm gonna take the meat out. I passed it to a plate already. This is like a piece of steak I have left, or piece of meat. And then after I take the like remaining pieces of meat I have in here, I'm gonna strain it. Straining is going to help to take out the cinnamon sticks, any like oregano or chunkiness from the sauce when I blended it. That's gonna make it way more smoother, which is what we want. And then you can also like skim the top of this because you could see the oil. So if you skim it, you're able to start to take that off, but you don't have to do it. Some people do it, but you don't have to. It's just personal preference. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna show you. This is a little warm, so it's not gonna be so bad, but if it's hot, I would just give it a few minutes so it cools down, so when you strain it you don't hurt yourself in the process of doing that. So yes. Okay, so I have the strainer right here, and I have this because everything that is not gonna run through this, I'm going it's gonna stay here, and then the what we want is going to fall into this container, and then I'll transfer it back into the crock pot. And yeah, so to do this, so you really can't see from here, but basically all you do is, oh, this is kind of warm. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the broth. Oh, see, it's already covered. So you're just gonna carefully let this run through. You could do this more than once if you want. And then you're just gonna, you're just gonna give it a few minutes because it's running through. You could also use a spoon if you would like to kind of like help everything. So make sure you take out as much of the product as you need, like that. So this is what comes out. This is what we don't need. If you have, everyone's gonna have this if you make this dish. This is what you do not need. This is just because when you blend it, you get this stuff left. And then the leaves and everything else is gonna come from here. So I just kind of do this a few times. Okay, so this is the shredded meat. Obviously I have more meat in my crock pot, but this is the meat that I'm gonna use for just right now to show how I assemble everything. Then here we have the cilantro and then some chopped onions. We also have mozzarella cheese in here. You could use the block or you could use a bag, which is what I'm doing. Either works. The block is obviously sometimes more fresh. Then we have a lime, which we're also going to need. Sorry. And then you're also going to need corn tortillas. These are the brand that I'm using. You can find these at Market Basket. Then what I do with the tortillas is that I put them in the microwave for 30 seconds to a minute just so that the tortillas can get soft. Another method my mom does sometimes is that she'll get a napkin and she'll wet the napkin with a little bit of water, and then she'll wrap the tortillas in there and then put them in the microwave. It helps them make them evenly soft. Because sometimes if you put them in the microwave as is, you can find that the corners get the around the tortilla gets harder and the center does not. So that helps as well. And yeah, so I'll show you guys how to do the rest. Okay, so this is me wrapping the tortillas. I did put some water, and then I'm gonna put them in the microwave for 30 seconds, and just keep an eye on them to see when they finally get soft. So here you can see I have the cheese, the broth, the meat, and then the tortilla. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna take the tortilla and you're just gonna like do a 1, 2. Oh, sorry. You're gonna pass it onto here. Don't let it soak for too long because then the tortilla is it could fall apart. Then you get some of your meat, and then a little bit some cheese, and you just add it on. And then you'll be able to flip it, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I added a little bit more broth onto the tortilla. I just sprinkled it on. So as for time wise, like in 2 minutes you should be able to flip it. You'll be able to tell 1 to 2 minutes you can flip it, and when you flip it, you'll just give it another 2 minutes and it should be good to go. And you just keep repeating these steps to all the tacos you want to make.